Welcome back. So we were at this problem that if the value is 2.45 multiplied by 1 lakh, we receive 2 lakh and 45,000 PKR. And the tenure is completed. The currency is as per our expectations is devalued, and now the same Indian rupee cost us 2.40, which means that for each Indian currency we are going to pay 2.40 rupees, which is less than earlier 2.45. Now when the time is of repayment, we are going to the bank, we are depositing the amount to like in 40,000 because we multiplied it with 2.40, and this is the amount that we need to submit into the bank, and we paid to like in 40,000. Now if we see with this situation of where we were planning borrowing from a country which is offering us a interest charge as is I have considered it as a zero or as minimum as possible, and also we have expected that the currency will devalue. So the results, look at the final results, that our cash inflow is this to like in 45,000 which we have, and the cash outflow was to like in 40,000 PKR, which was definitely less than the amount that we gained. So the difference is that 5,000 we saved, 5,000 rupees we paid less for the same amount that we borrowed. So this is how we can increase our cash flows and reduce the costs of hedging if done properly. Next is this short-term investment decisions. Okay, so the short-term investment decisions is that when businesses have excess cash. Okay, so when just like as individuals do have excess cash, so what we do with that, we do not like to put it in our wallet or in our purse. We just want to invest it somewhere and we want to grow it. The main reason is to grow it. So similarly, the businesses wants to grow it. When there is a growing intention of the currency, so what they do, because they're on international level, they can do it locally, but they have better options available. They have international banks as well, so they can go international, and they choose on behalf of the criteria that will increase their cash flows. Now the first criteria for the bank, they will go with and convert the currency with, that the country they are in which they are going to plan their investments must be offering a high interest rate rather than a low interest rate. Okay, so they will select between 4 to 5 countries. Any country, suppose that is Canada. Okay, so in Canadian dollar, you will be converting your currency in Canadian dollar, and you will be putting that amount, depositing into the bank for that particular tenure. So suppose that it is giving you a high interest rate, and plus you're expecting that the value of the Canadian dollar will be strengthened or will appreciate with that in that particular tenure. Suppose you're putting your investments for 6 months. Okay, 6 month period. So your aim will be first that it will give you a good percentage of interest. The second will be that the value of that currency will be going to incline in its value, or it will strengthen against your currency. So it will give you in the last more amount. So let's see with a simple example that how this phenomenon will work. Suppose that there's a company, okay, which wants to invest in India, and it has forecasted that there will be appreciation in its currency. Okay, so we are checking the same amount, which is 1 lakh rupees, and the MNC is Pakistani based. So today's rate is 2.45. So we converted this amount into our Pakistani rupees, which is 2 lakh and 45,000. Now this rate that we have converted is not going towards the Indian bank. This is not going towards India, but this is the amount that we need to pay, or we need to pay to our bank. In our bank account, we need to put it in our bank account, and bank will convert it with this rate to 1 lakh. Okay, so this 1 lakh is being invested into the Indian bank. Suppose the maturity period is 1 year. In 1 year we will get our amount back, plus we will get some interest as well. So for the sake of simplicity, I'm assuming again that the interest rate is 0%, and so that we can focus on the basic working of how the amounts are increasing and decreasing. So suppose that in 1 year period the appreciation of the currency is happened, which means that Indian rupee has raised in the value or it has strengthened against PKR, which simply in other terms means that now for the same unit of Indian currency we need to pay 2.505 50 units to buy 1 unit of Indian currency. So when we will multiply the amount that we deposited in with the 2.50, so the amount becomes 2,50,000 PKR. Now what this means? This means that when 1 year was completed, our principal amount, this is our principal amount, right, was sent to our bank plus some interest if there was. But for here we are considering, suppose it's 0% interest, so we are getting our principal amount back. When it is multiplied to the today's rate of Indian rupee per current Pakistani rupee, so we will get 2,50,000 PKR from our bank account, because we will go to our bank, right? We will go to our bank to get the amount that is returned or sent by the Indian bank. So what we get is 2,50,000. So you see that how simple it is, that when we gave amount to the bank, it was like 2,45,000 as per the current rate of Pakistani rupee, converting into the Indian rupee. So the amount Indian bank got was 1 lakh, no doubt, but the amount that we paid for an Indian bank amount was this. And when it was converted again, when we were at the receiver side, so it was converted according to the recent rate, which was 2.50. Okay, so we got 2,50,000. So if you see that the cash inflow was 2,50,000 when we received it, and when we invested, when we deposited this amount. So the cash outflow was this and the cash inflow was this, so we gained 5,000 rupees. That was the amount that we gained on our investments. So this is how, if you plan properly regarding depositing and lending, you can earn on it with your decisions. The third, okay, so there's a phenomena about the concept that I earlier explained you. So I'm going to quickly overview again. When it's about paying, so when you are at the payer side, when you are paying the amount, so the declining or depreciation or weakening or devaluation of the currency is favorable for you, because you will be paying less than before. But when you are at the receiving side, when you have to receive and collect your payments for the services you provided or for the goods you provided, then the increase in the value of the currency or the worth of the currency, appreciation and strengthening of the currency is favorable for you, because you will be collecting more cash than you invested. So this is a simple phenomenon that just you need to keep this in your mind. Then we have a capital budgeting decision that MNCs take. Now, first, what is a capital budgeting decision? It is about evaluation of the potential big projects for making an investment into it. Because before going to actually invest in a big project, it needs a lot of amount. So before actually going to put in your cash, you need to evaluate it, because just to be sure that this project is going to work. Now, for example, constructing a new plant or opening of a new subsidiary in a foreign country. When any parent, MNC, which is parent company, multinational corporation, wants to assess that whether to invest in a foreign project, just like as opening of a new subsidiary or a new branch, just considers the exchange rate movements or exchange rate fluctuations, right? So in that scenario, the capital budgeting decision will be considering the exchange rate. Otherwise, locally you don't need to consider the exchange rate when you are doing within the country. But going broader, going outside of the country, you need to consider the exchange rate. So for the capital budgeting analysis, what you need to do is you simply get all the estimated cash flows that you have estimated, you measure them, and you convert them into the parent country's currency. Okay, so what you do is estimated estimated cash flows minus the actual. So if the answer comes out positive, you are going to select the project. If it comes negative, you are going to reject the projects. This is simple recalling of the capital budgeting decision. Then fifth assessment is regarding the earnings assessment, and what companies do here. So the parent company have to take a decision for a subsidiary or the child company that it should reinvest the earnings in a foreign country, or should ask them to remit earnings back to the parent company, right? That all depends upon this exchange rate forecast. So if they expect the exchange rate to, weakening or declining in its worth, so it will be, not good for the firm, because they will be receiving less of the amount when the currency of foreign currency will be converted to the home currency. So the subsidiary who is earning there, who has earnings over there, they will ask the subsidiary, if they expect the currency is going to weaken, to remit as soon as possible, right? So in that situation the remittance will be, done. Or otherwise, if they expect that the currency is going to strengthen and we are not worried for for a 6-month period, or for a 7-month period, and it will weaken, so they can, there is a cushion for them to reinvest into the company and remit it back when within 4 months, or within 5 months, or before the currency is expected to devalue. So this is how the earnings assessment will help them to increase their cash flows and decrease their cash outflows. And last but not the least, decision which they have to take is a long-term financing decision. Now, you know that in long-term financing, because the firms need finance to run their business activities, and for the long term, they can opt for the bonds and shares issuance. And but when we are on an international level, we have a big exposure to the different currencies, and we can do it where we feel the better. We feel with the better options. So suppose that corporations that are issuing bonds, but they are issuing bonds in denominated in the foreign currency. That happens for the reason because the bonds that they are issuing in the foreign currency is at the cheaper rate. The currency that they have used is, they have bought it at the cheaper rate, and they issued it and they have collected some amount, and that bond carries a particular time period of few months or 1 year period. And when it's a maturity time period, so because when at the maturity time period, you have to repay the loan to the bank from where you have got the loan. So when it's a repay time, the currency has depreciated. It's the same phenomenon that I explained you before, and you will be paying less amount to that bank. You will be paying less than before, and you collected more than you paid for. So this is how the long-term decision can be made. This requires a lot of understanding, requires a lot of work, homework, research work, before actually going into the transactions and before actually going into the actual work. So businesses are MNCs are continuously making the decisions and making their cash inflows more than the cash outflows. So and two, they will do this with the more appropriate techniques that we will learn in our next lecture, that what are those techniques that they can apply to reduce their cash outflows. All right, for now, we are going to see that how forecasting techniques help us, forecasting properly helps us to reduce our, cash outflows and increase the worth of the business. So first thing is that when you decide whether to hedge the foreign currency cash flows, if you can, estimate in a proper manner, so you will cut the cost of hedging, which is required to, pay for the contracts that you will need to lock in the rate. So if you can forecast properly, then this cost is cut, and this will increase the dollar cash flows of your firm, because suppose that the MNC that is that we are taking in an example is a US based MNC. All right. Anyways, so the second one is that when you decide whether to invest in a foreign project, the capital budgeting decision, when you do it properly, you increase your dollar cash flows. And when you decide whether foreign subsidiaries should remit their earnings or should keep their earnings or reinvest their earnings. So when you decide this in a proper manner, keeping in mind the exchange rate fluctuations, you increase the cash flows. And the last decision, that whether to decide whether to obtain financing in a foreign currency, which is when the currency is depreciating or appreciating in the value, you have to take the decision with the low interest rates. So you will basically what you will do, you will cut the cost of capital, you will decrease the cost of capital, and by doing so, by cutting the cost of capital, you will increase the value of the firm. You will definitely increase the value of the firm, which will be due to the increase in the cash flows and decrease in the cost of the capital. I hope this lecture was helpful. Allah Hafiz.